What's up, guys? I want to talk to you about Flashforward #1. So, me and Lewis went over to Play for Life Comics in Wake Forest the other day, and I noticed that they had this issue, and I had seen it advertised a while back, so we had to pick it up. Anywho, I was pretty excited because, it's they haven't done anything with Wally West since the Heroes in Crisis, and if you've been around the channel for a while, you know how I feel about Heroes in Crisis. Not good. The artwork is amazing. Clayman did amazing with the artwork, but the story is horrible. They destroyed one of the classic characters, one of my favorite characters, and so honestly, I feel a lot about like that as I do about Star Wars Episode 7. 8, what they did with Luke Skywalker. So, two franchises killing my favorite character, or ruining my favorite characters. So, yay! Wally West isn't my favorite character. That's more of a Lewis thing, but he's definitely in my top 10. So what they did with him, especially after Rebirth, where they brought him back, and we had such a beautiful scene between Barry and Wally, and then they make him a killer. But I'm not going to go into that as little as possible in this. So, if this is the first video you've seen since in a while, this is the new setup. It's going to change a little bit, but this is the gist. Hope you like it. Anywho, let's get into it. What really drew my attention to it was we've got this guy. His name is Tempest Fugonaut, and he's from Sideways, which I love that series. And I was really excited to see that they were doing something with the character, because I thought he was a pretty interesting character. Although he seems... I was watching somebody talking about how he just seems worthless, which he hasn't really done much. But, I think he's kind of a cool design and an interesting character, that there's these guys out there to protect the multiverse. So, interesting. But it talks about kind of a dark universe, and I explain it pretty well, that the darkness is seeping out into, I guess, the multiverse and corrupting it. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically he seeks out a hero, and that hero is Wally West. Meanwhile, we find Wally West in prison, which makes no sense. And everybody knows that he's the Flash, which makes even less sense. So I know what they were going for. They wanted to see the life of Wally West in prison. But number one, I don't think the Justice League would ever put him in common prison with everybody. Because one, that tells everybody his secret identity. And I don't think that they would treat one of their own like a common criminal. I think that they would put him in the Justice League holding, away from all the criminals that he's put in prison. So I don't think that makes sense. And if they did put him in there because he requested it, they would probably use a fake name, so that everybody didn't know he was the Flash. Now everybody knows that Wally West is the Flash. So that doesn't make any sense at all. So I know that they're trying to redeem the character because they destroyed the character in Heroes in Crisis. But I'm just going to say that I don't think it works the way they want it to. There's a scene in here where Wally West is talking to Linda, and I think it's a really, I think it's really cool. One of the reasons that I wanted to get the issue is because she's on the cover. I'm like, hey, maybe they're finally getting all back together, which would be awesome. But I think this scene really shows us what DC is thinking and what we are thinking. So Wally West, I'm just going to read this one page to you. He finds out that it's her, and he says, she says, "You're pleading guilty to all the charges," and he's like, "I lost control. People died, good people." And she says, "Wally, you've done so much good. People understand an accident." And he's like, "That doesn't make Roy or any of the others less dead, does it?" And she's like, "You pieced together billions of data, released confessionals to the world, you tried to make friends, you tried." And then I guess that's supposed to justify it, maybe. I feel like DC is Linda and the fans are Wally West, where they're trying to cover up what has happened, and we're just like, no, you've ruined him. Like, I don't care what his intentions were. That doesn't justify killing heroes. Wally West would never do that, especially Roy Harper. So it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And so, yeah, I'm right there with Wally West. Now, I do think the best way that they could do it is just talk about Heroes in Crisis as little as possible and just move on, and just as if it never happened. And that's kind of how we go in the end. We have in the middle of a fight, we have Tempest Fugonaut show up, saves Wally West. Wally West saves him, and then he sends him off into the multiverse with his costume, which is pretty sweet. And then we meet President Superman, which I don't remember what Earth he's from. I think he's, what is it, like Earth 23 or something? I don't know. But you know, I had a hard time reading any of the parts that look back on Heroes in Crisis because I hated that. I hated the story, I should say. The artwork was amazing, but nothing made sense in Heroes in Crisis, and they destroyed an iconic character. But moving beyond that, the things that I liked about this issue were that we've got the character from Sideways. I think it's about time that they use some of the new heroes that they have had. I mean, the Terrifics have been terrific. Silencer was amazing. Sideways was awesome. And so I'm excited that they haven't given up on some of those characters. Some of them, whatever. You tried it. It's whatever. But the other half were really good. I'd like to see Damage show back up because he was a cool character. So I'm kind of excited that they're going to use some of those characters, and I'm glad that they're going to redeem Wally West after they totally, shoved him in the mud and beat him up. And so I'm excited about that. I'm hoping beyond hope that we'll get something with Wally and Linda again. That'll be good. And so, they dropped the whole story with him and his family so quickly. I'm not convinced that they're not still out there somewhere. At least the kids. Linda's there. She's forgotten who Wally is. And we haven't had that explained because Doomsday Clock 12 will never come out. And even then, I doubt that it'll solve everything that happened in the Rebirth. Yeah, I don't know. So that's my thoughts. I mean, I enjoyed it because it's a Wally West story, and I love the characters that are in it. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that still just if it wasn't for Heroes in Crisis, I would like it a lot more. Other than the fact that they know who Wally West is now. They know that Wally West is the Flash, which is really terrible. That was a bad call. Oh, there was a thing with the chair. I'm not super knowledgeable about this chair. I think it's a New 52 thing. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. Let me see if I can't find it. It's got a whole Thanagarian thing. Kind of felt out there. I'm sure it ties in somehow. Maybe Wally West is supposed to use it. I don't know. One critique I did hear about the book is that there's a lot of narration going on in the characters that the characters are doing, which I agree. The first whole dialogue with, or the first whole page or two with Tempest Fugonaut was just him explaining who he is, and I'm like, who are you talking to? There's no one around. And then he was explaining why what was going on was so great, and I'm like, you're not talking to anybody. There's nobody there. Why are you, like, is this a self-monologue? Because it sounds more like a narrator. And then Wally West does a lot of the same stuff, and then the Thanagarian guy does a lot of the same stuff about the chair. So there's a lot of, it should have been a show don't tell kind of thing, but whatever. If it wasn't for all the Heroes in Crisis stuff, I've enjoyed this a lot more. But because they kept referencing it, and it was so on my mind, I'm just like, I'm glad we're getting another Wally West story, but I wish we weren't in this situation. It's just like Star Wars Episode 9. Like, I'm glad that we're getting another Star Wars movie, but I wish we weren't in the situation we were, where the Episode 9 has to basically fix everything that Episode 8 had messed up. So we'll see. I really just wish that they would forget and just ignore Heroes in Crisis and write it out of canon. And just start over. Just start with Wally West where he was in Rebirth, and that'd be better. Just like Star Wars, just ignore Episode 7, 8, and the upcoming 9, and just start over with the good stuff in the extended universe. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think, guys. Did you enjoy the issue? Are you excited about Wally West being back? Do you agree that DC should never have done what they did? Where do you think it's going? I mean, I'm very interested. I think it'll be a good story. I'm just ready for us to get beyond the Heroes in Crisis stuff. I do think that it's going to be very difficult for them to convince me that Wally is a hero after killing a bunch of heroes. But if there was something that Tempest said, I don't remember what it was, that kind of made it seem like maybe there was more going on than just Wally West, which would be great. Like, we did the whole Hal Jordan Parallax thing, where he was really controlled by Parallax, and it wasn't actually him, which was stupid. But in this case, it would work, because there was actual justification for Hal Jordan to do what he did, even though it tarnished his name. But in this case, there was no reason for him to do what he was doing. No logical progression for what he did. So let me know what you think. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love for you to join the family. If you are watching this tomorrow, there's going to be an extra video that pops up for where I quizzed Lewis after our last live stream. So you can go check that out. I guess technically it's today if you're on the East Coast, because I'm filming this like stupid late for some reason. Anywho, thanks for liking and subscribing. We will catch you next time. Peace.